So I'm here with Amelia Taylor, a Northern Downhill mountain bike rider. I'm ambassador for She Shreds and for Ride 981.
That's right, yeah.
So if you can just tell us a little bit first about what it is you do, the kind of biking you do, and we'll take it from there.
Sure, okay. So I do a lot of mountain biking, a little bit of downhill and a little bit of enduro riding as well. I've done a fair bit of racing in the past, but as you can see in the background, I've got a little one now, so that has slowed me down a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. So, could you tell? Because obviously, as the listeners know, we are road riders at CycleBabble. We're trying to find out more. So, a bit of difference between mountain biking, downhill, and enduro ride.
Okay, sure. So, mountain biking is just generally off-road on the trails, so trail centre, but also more local sort of stuff as well. Enduro riding is a race format, so the racing sort of started with downhill races, so that was one single time stage, and you might get a couple of different runs at it. Generally, might have jumps and drops and things, be quite technical. And so you would just be timed on your downhill run stage.
Right.
Enduro, you get kind of a bigger day out, so you do different downhill time stages, but you ride up in between as well. The big difference is you're not timed for your riding uphill. You might have a time limit to get uphill,
Right.
but you're only timed on the downhill sections, and you put those together, so kind of a bigger day out.
Right. So yeah.
So different race formats.
Yeah, different formats. So obviously, if you're doing different formats, do you have different styles of bikes for those formats, or?
So a downhill bike, obviously, sort of bigger travel, slacker on the front as well for sort of more steep terrain. An enduro bike, because you want to be able to travel uphill as well, it needs to be lighter. Downhill bikes are very, very heavy. So generally lighter frames, usually a little bit less travel. Yes, that's probably the main differences between those.
The heavier bikes, is that for sturdiness as well as, I'm guessing, the heavier it is, the better it works with gravity.
Yeah, and for I suppose for the manufacturer, they're not looking for things to be light as a priority really, so it's okay to make them heavier.
So, are you a member of a local club or anything like that?
Yeah, in a way. Well, when I first started riding, with Newcastle Mountain Bike Club. They're local to me. I don't really tend to ride with them very much anymore, just, as your lifestyle changes and things. And my riding's probably changed a little bit as well. But I'm very grateful to those guys, because without their support and their encouragement and teaching in my early days, I wouldn't be riding.
So have you got a history of cycling as a child, etc.?
Not as a child. I started riding about 6 years ago, kind of at a time when my life was quite difficult and I was going through some personal stuff. I needed a bit of time out and to do something for myself. And my brother took me for a ride down in Bristol, and I just loved it. Hadn't ridden a bike since I was a child. And got back and thought, right, I'm going to go on Google, find someone who wants to go riding, because none of my friends were interested. And found Newcastle Mountain Bike Club. And
You can, within reason, switch off.
Yeah.
On the roads you've got to be aware of the traffic, etc. And I dare say on mountain biking you've got to be aware of what's in front of you.
That is something that's massively close to my heart, because we had a chat earlier, and as you know, I'm a psychologist as well. So I'm very interested in sort of types of therapy and learning, and I kind of bring psychology to mountain biking and mountain biking to psychology as well in my practice.
Yeah.
So for me, I think very much at the time and still now, mountain biking gave me something kind of a bit like mindfulness. So,
yes.
So when I'm riding my bike, it took all my other life stresses away, and I was just focusing on the trail and being outside with a new network of people, beautiful places, and it gave me that time out, that brain space.
Yeah. I mean, the advantages of being out in the fresh air and exercise are the two main advantages that we found on road biking, and I guess on mountain biking you can add to that the scenery.
Yeah.
I mean, we can just be riding around cities and towns and things like that, or you can get out into the sticks if you've got the chance.
Yeah.
But mountain biking is in the countryside.
Yeah, and it's an amazing way to explore your local area as well. When I started riding with that club, there were so many places in Newcastle, North Tyneside, that I wouldn't have even known existed if it wasn't for just getting on my bike with that group of people and doing some exploring.
So where do you tend to race? Is that in the northeast or?
Kind of all over really. So mainly probably the northeast, because my partner runs a company called Northern Downhill, and they are an events company, mountain bike events. So they run enduros and sort of mini downhill races as well. So I started racing with Northern Downhill before I met my partner, and that's how we got together. But also a little bit in Scotland, and a little bit sort of down South Wales as well. So kind of all over.
Now, I know we've got listeners to the podcast and followers on Facebook who are international and things like that, but I think the majority are based in the northeast. So if they were interested in mountain biking or downhill in the northeast, where would they look to go? Obviously you said about the Newcastle
Club. I think Hamsley Forest down in County Durham's got a massive draw for that, because it's got fantastic family friendly trails, ranging from blue runs down to black runs, so great routes. And it also has Danny Hart's Descend Bike Park up there now as well. So that's a downhill bike park. So you can book on their uplift service. I think it's about £25 a day now. Might be changing. It's been taken over by a world champ.
Yeah.
So you can book on. You ride down the tracks there, and the bus picks you up at the bottom, takes you back to the top, and the day sort of runs like that. You get a lunch break. So if you want to try out downhill, you can do it that way. I would recommend you try out mountain biking first. I
know Jess Scott, who I think you know, at the university. She's organising a trial day along with, I believe it's one of the British coaches at Hamsterley in May, I believe it is.
Okay.
We'll get details of that and put it up on our Facebook page and Twitter. So you'd recommend people give that a go if they've never done mountain biking before? Yeah,
definitely. Get down to the forest. It has a lot to offer. Mountain biking stuff, but other stuff as well. It's a great place, good cafe down there, really accessible and a brilliant place to learn. Yeah.
So we said about you being brand ambassadors for. Hello. We said about you being a brand ambassador for She Shreds and for Ride 981. Yeah. Could you tell people a bit more about those brands?
Yeah, okay. So She Shreds is an American apparel company, and it is a business for clothing, but it is more than that. It's a network of females in action sports, really, a global network. So I kind of promote them through my social media and things, but I also run events for them as well. So we've got one coming up next weekend, which is in Hamsley Forest. So that is just for girls, and next weekend it's about practicing our racetrack for the race coming up at Hamsley in a couple of weeks' time. But they're they're not guided rides. They're girls getting together, having a good time on bikes, getting some photos. For this one, we're having a little picnic as well, so it should be a nice sociable event.
Oh, that's good.
And not just for people who are racing; anyone can come along.
Yeah, and I know we spoke earlier about, you were saying that the mountain biking community tends to be just that. More of a community thing where, yes, there's competitive spirit, but you're trying to beat yourself as much as beat anybody else.
Yeah. So when I first started racing with Northern Downhill, I turned up to the first sort of few races, and actually the first race I went to, it wasn't Northern Downhill, it was a cross country event up at Kielder, and there was 3 girls entered, and I was the only girl that finished. For the Northern Downhill races, there was kind of 3 girls that entered, lots of them, and they were amazing riders, way better than I was. And then me, so there was kind of a big gap, and I was certainly never going to get on a podium. So when me and my partner Carl got together, I really wanted to get more girls racing. We've kind of been doing that over the last couple of years really successfully. So we went from having sort of 3 girls, now at Hamsley in a few weeks I think we've got between 30 and 40 girls. So that's a big difference for racing.
That's really good.
Yeah. The community of girls we have are amazing. So there's a Facebook forum called MTB Chicks and Trails, which started at Hamsley and now is quite big. They're really supportive of our events, and what we tend to find is they'll come to our events, they'll encourage other girls to come. They can ask questions on the forum as well. There's no question too silly. We can tell you about the format and how it works. We can tell you what the track's like. And they're really welcoming and they're really encouraging to each other. It's not, there's a competitive side to it as well, but it's not overly competitive.
It's not a dog-eat-dog type.
No,
thing.
not at all. It's really good fun, and the girls want the other girls to do well. They're brilliant.
Certainly, I mean, we're happy to push that link and things like that on our feed on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Thank you.
Get as many. One of the things we've been campaigning for lately, and we will continue, is women in cycling. So that's something we'll definitely be pushing. What about the other brand, Ride 981?
Ride 981 is a clothing company, and they are sort of newly set up by downhill riders, for downhill riders really, and they are sort of the man who started it is based in Sweden, but he's actually originally English. So they're sending me, you can probably see my the hoodie I'm wearing now. So they send me some apparel as well, and that's quite nice, which again is just promotion through social media.
Yeah, I mean,
but great kit so far.
It's great if they're able to help you out as well with kit.
Yeah.
So on the subject of women in cycling, what's your personal experience been? I know you said certainly the majority has been very welcoming in a communal spirit and everything. Have you come across inability to get word out about the women's mountain biking, or do you think that's mountain biking in general?
I think there is definitely a difference between the coverage between men and women. It's quite clear when you look at things around Rachel Atherton. You know, she is obviously an amazing rider, amazing race statistics behind her, and not well known by a lot of people. Obviously inside the community of mountain biking, she's very well known, but outside that, not so much. And I think that's tough.
Well, that was something we discussed before the interview. That I'm a cycling fan, and until I spoke to Jess Scott at the university about mountain biking in general, and she says, "Oh, you want to have a look at Rachel Atherton?" I was like, "Who?" I mean, this is a woman who has broken record after record for wins.
Yeah.
As we were saying, it's 18 months, 2 years or something, unbeaten in
It's
races.
longer than that, yeah. Last 4 World Cups, yeah.
And it's just ridiculous that any woman can have so many, or any athlete, sorry, can have so many consecutive wins and not be known. Even within the general cycling world, because it's a discipline that isn't as well televised.
Yeah.
You know, this is a woman who surely should have at least been nominated for Sports Personality of the Year.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just nothing there.
Yeah, and it frustrates me because when you watch the World Cup, which is on Red Bull TV, there's a lot of coverage of the men and very little of the women. I think you sometimes get to see the top 10 women, whereas you see a lot more of the men. And I want to watch these girls race. It's inspiring, and I want to see how they ride. And yeah, that's hard.
I mean, we spoke to Laura Winter a couple of weeks ago. We've got the interview on the podcast. Very passionate advocate of women's cycling, and she's asking people who feel as strongly as you do, and the viewers, etc., if you want to see more women cycling, or want to have at least results even, because that's the big thing. It just seems to not appear in the press at all. Get in touch with your local papers, your magazines that you read, etc. It needs to be out there. We're working in tandem with Peloton magazine, and Shannon's going to be doing that, getting that launched, I believe, in the next few months. And that's going to be a cycling magazine with local cycling being that's based in Newcastle, but also by a woman editor and chief. So we're hoping that that's going to help get women's cycling out there. So we just need to get some kind of campaign's probably too strong a word, but we need to get it into the public consciousness.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've got a friend of mine, Sandy Boyd, she's kind of trained in marketing, and she's set up a company called Girl Bike Van, and she's doing a lot of promotion for women's cycling at the moment, and rides where I think you can go along and join in, and you don't have to have a lot of experience, and she's really structuring those very well. And I think she's had some articles in her local press about that, which is great. So I wish her all the best with that.
Oh, that'd be good to get. You know, like I say, we'll do that. So, how do you think we can go about getting mountain biking in general more coverage? Because again, you said earlier, it's probably the fastest growing area of the sport, and yet it's relatively unknown unless you've got a direct interest in it.
Yeah. It's one it's a tricky one because part of it's about supply and demand, and I think it's got to be girls out there saying kind of, you know, we want to see this, and men too that want to see the girls race, and getting that message across to the companies. I think there's also, it's about getting more girls riding, of course, and getting girls on a bike down to the forest, see what it's about.
One of the arguments we've had in the show is it's a chicken and egg syndrome.
Yeah.
Will girls get involved in the sport before there's coverage, or will, you know, does the coverage have to become because they're only going to do that when there's the girls cycling? It's a tough call, but
it is, and I think it's broader than just the media coverage as well, because I think there's the marketing of stuff to women, so that, you know, there's still adverts out there with kind of, you know, scantily clad women in a bike, that sort of thing, not particularly appealing to us.
No.
And sometimes when you go into a bike shop as well, some of them are absolutely brilliant and they really get what it's about. A lot of the girls I've talked to have said they've gone into a bike shop and been looking at, a downhill bike or a mountain bike, and someone's come across and said, is that for your boyfriend or your husband? Or,
Really?
Not very helpful, yeah.
Not the best.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think we need a break there as well.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous thing there. I've actually this morning seen a meme on Facebook that I'll link into this video somehow, and it was a female cyclist, and it was, you can be looking at my behind, I'll be kicking yours.
Yeah, too right.
And it is that kind of thing. So we'll get that linked in here somehow to the interview. It's just brilliant to see things like that. I mean, we've had the faux pas of, I know there was the Colombian road team, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, that somebody who came up with that kit was horrendous, and it looked like they literally were naked from the waist down.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
So we do have issues there.
Yeah, there are. But I think on the plus side, I think it's probably the biggest growing area of the industry. I think alongside that, there's a lot more female specific events coming up, and sort of ambassadors popping up as well. So like Girl Bike Van, but also there's Air Maiden up in Scotland that are doing sort of jumps and drops courses and women only events as well. And kind of in the autumn, Rachel Atherton and Red Bull run a race called Fox Hunt, which is amazing, and which I got to take part in last year, which is a mass start downhill race, just women. So I can't remember how. I think there was about 250 there last year,
right,
all starting at the top of Melmonby Scar in Cumbria together and riding down. And then a few minutes after, Rachel sets up from the top as well and tries to chase you down. So she's trying to catch the foxes.
I'm guessing the word try isn't really in there.
Well, I
looking at Rachel's statistics,
she had a tough time this year because she got a flat, flat near the top, so she didn't get past all of us. No,
right. But no, it's great that there are more specific events out there. I don't know. I'm quite open about the fact I know precious little about mountain biking. It's something we are improving by talking to people like yourself. The women's races in the road, for example, the women will be a couple of hours up the road from the men if they're riding the same event. Now, the argument that Laura's put forward, and we agree with, is the infrastructure's there to film the men finishing. Mm-hmm. Why are we watching the men bimbling along in a peloton and missing the women's race finishing? And the women have some of the most exciting finishes going. Yeah. Is it the similar kind of thing with the men's race? Do they race the same course at the same time, or?
No, it tends to be a little bit different for downhill, because everyone's riding the same track, so they go at sort of intervals. So there's one person going at a time.
So it's like a time trial kind of thing.
Yeah. So theoretically, really, I can't see why they couldn't cover more of the women's race. But they don't, and I'm guessing that's about supply and demand. So I don't know. That's one to ask Red Bull about.
Yeah, definitely. We'll actually email and see if we can get some kind of answer about this.
Yeah.
So the women's race and the men's race tends to be on the same day, even. So, obviously, again, the infrastructure is there at the time to be able to film the women's race.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I would presume so. Yeah.
So okay. Yeah, it's certainly something we'll look into. We'll get more details off you, obviously, of different races that can be covered, and see why they're not, if we can get some kind of answer.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who helps you out with your bikes, etc.? Or
I've been really lucky in that Start Cycles, who support Northern Downhill, have lent me a couple of bikes recently to demo and to take along to events. So that's been really nice. I'm kind of looking at bikes at the moment because I've got a bit of an out-of-date 26-inch wheel over there.
This one here?
That's that one there, yeah. So I think it's a bit of a time for an upgrade. So so I'm seeing what feels right at the moment.
With the mountain biking, is it an expensive sport to get into?
Yes, definitely.
Sorry, parents.
Having said that, when I first turned up to Newcastle Mountain Bike Club, I had literally a supermarket bike, and that got me through that ride. They did say, "Come back and we'll lend you a bike," because it broke twice, and they needed to help me fix it on the ride. So I think I had them back a little bit late. But that was my knowledge about mountain biking at the time. I didn't know about bikes. So
what we see in catalogues as mountain bikes are effectively commuter bikes. They're not built for what you do.
Probably not. No, probably not. They'd probably die fairly quickly.
But I'm guessing the likes of Start Cycles, the Cycle Centre at Biker, and other local shops in your areas will be more than happy to talk you through what you need to get going.
For sure. And certainly the bike shop that I'm working with at the moment, they're going to host a girls' evening, a ladies' evening or a women's evening. I know that doesn't suit everyone. Coming up, where we're going to have 3 different workshops on sort of mechanical stuff, and they'll have a bit of promotion on for women as well on what's in store, and you can have a good look at the bikes. So keep an eye out for that.
And is there a lot of, obviously the bike is going to be an expense. It's the same with road riding.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you've got protective equipment, etc., which is not going to be cheap either.
Yeah, that's true.
You get what you pay for?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I always wear knee pads and I always wear a helmet. I have elbow pads and body armour as well for downhill stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, don't go riding without the helmet. Yeah, foolish.
We'll not get into that. Obviously, we've got a debate within the CycleBabble studio about that.
Oh, okay.
I think you should never ride without a helmet. Andy is less so.
Okay.
So we're doing a debate, and we're actually looking, as part of the degree perhaps, into the psychology of, some people are now saying wearing a helmet makes you take more risks.
Okay. I'm not sure about that. I wear a full face helmet for downhill stuff, and I think probably the risky stuff comes more actually when you're going slow. And when you touch your brakes. And
I would imagine it's different for your kind of riding as to ours, perhaps, because in traffic it's a bit different. Yeah,
but speed's your friend, and if you it's more about confidence probably.
Yeah.
And I think, wear a helmet definitely. Well, in fact, at Danny Hart's bike park, you can't ride.
I was going to say, I believe a lot of mountain biking, you're not allowed to go on rides without a helmet. Yeah. And I know a lot of club rides in road riding are exactly the same now.
Yeah.
It's no helmet, no ride, which personally I agree with.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, is there anything else particularly?
Well, there is. I've got some notes here, and this is because I previous to this interview, I put a couple of posts on women's forums about mountain biking, just to sort of gather some views about it. So I'd quite like to just reflect some of those to anyone listening. Okay. Lust as a bike name, female specific bikes. So this is from Giant. We have the Giant Lust out there. I think that there's some issues there possibly.
You see, I was actually going before when you were saying about women specific brands. I was going to give Giant a thumbs up because of the Liv brand. Yeah, Liv brand seems to be very positive.
Oh yeah, and amazing bikes, totally.
But they then come out with a name like Lust.
Yeah, let's move on. Okay, my saddle on that bike there is a Charge Spoon. That's a man's saddle, that one. The women's version of that saddle is called the Charge Ladle. Make of that what you will.
Political correctness, I think I'll move on from that one.
What else do we have? Misrepresenting girls in marketing, I've mentioned that already. So there's still adverts going out there with sort of sexualized content, and please remember that we'd like these adverts to appeal to us as well. We might be buying your product, so it'd be nice to move on from that. Women's specific bikes, I think, tend to be more expensive than men's. That's a supply and demand thing as well. So obviously with manufacturing, they're making fewer, they cost more to make, but unfortunately that's reflected to us when we're buying bikes. So that can be an issue. That's definitely been commented on.
Again, to the chicken and egg thing, if they made them cheaper, would they sell more bikes? Is a question.
Yeah. I'd like to think so.
I honestly believe they would.
They might sell more women's specific bikes anyway. Yeah. I think there's a big sort of growing thing in social media where there's lots of these brand ambassadors like I am out there for companies, and that's great. But I'd love those companies to make sure they choose someone that can ride a bike well. I think there's some people out there that are chosen maybe because they're followers and whatnot, and they're gorgeous. But be a gorgeous athlete. Don't just be gorgeous.
So but they may have X thousand followers. Yeah. And get the word out. Yeah. But not be particularly good at what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And you don't have to be amazing at riding a bike, but ride a bike and promote riding a bike as well. Yeah. That would be really good. I think that's really important to have good role models out there for women, and show other girls what you can do and be an inspiration. Yeah, I have to mention my I've got a friend actually who went into a bike shop and she was just buying Allen keys, and she was with her boyfriend at the time who didn't even ride a bike, and she handed the Allen keys to the guy at the till. She was paying for the Allen keys. Her boyfriend had nothing to do with it. The guy behind the till only spoke to the guy. Yeah, kind of embarrassing that.
Yeah,
Not good. Not good.
Do us a favour here.
Yeah. Pink. There's a lot of pink out there. You've probably heard the phrase, we pink it and shrink it for women specific stuff.
Yes.
Yes, we make it pink, make it smaller. There's lots of girls out there that like pink. I quite like pink myself. But give us a range of colours, give us a bit of choice. That would be nice.
Yep.
We're not all the same. So I think that probably covers most of it. And I've got to say as well, I've got no sort of anti-men things going on. I've had a lot of support from men in the industry and from men when I've been riding, and that's great.
Yeah.
So I hope, yeah.
I know you said earlier on about the cycling club, you were the only female amongst 30 men.
Yeah, there was another girl that turned up now and again, and over time we got a few more. And I think there's still some girls riding with that club, which is great. But if it wasn't for Terry, who runs the club, and Ian, who was his sidekick at the time, I wouldn't have learnt very much, and I probably wouldn't have got the encouragement that I needed at the time. So thanks to those guys.
So is there anything you could say to any young girls, or even not young girls, as you say, you've only been riding 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, any women who are interested in cycling or thinking about cycling.
Yeah.
Is it a case of just go out and try it?
Yeah, well, go out and try it. Get in touch. Get on this MTB Chicks and Trails forum on Facebook. It's really supportive. Get a network out there. Google, find your local club. Be brave. I had to be brave to start with. And get involved. Or go and see what the races are like. Turn up, offer to marshal. You know, we pay our marshals. They get lunch. Or just go and heckle. We love a heckle. Yeah. Give us some support and give the women a massive cheer as well.
And obviously what we'll do is we'll start to put links onto our social media about local downhill, northern downhill particularly. We already follow them, and we'll take it from there and get the word out about that.
Yeah.
So that'll be great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Thanks for talking to us.